Hello everyone. Welcome back to Sustainable Living with Shilpa Reddy, powered by Planet Green's Farm Natura, a new beginning to your life. Today, on yet another episode of Kankatala Q&A with Shilpa, I will be addressing a few questions that we have received in the past few weeks. Following the tradition, today I am wearing Ponduru Khadi Jamdani woven sari. From the Gandhian era, this khadi fabric is a testimony to the changing times of India. The weaving errors give it a beautiful raw appeal. What is highly unique with the spin is that it keeps you cool in summers and warm in winters. This khadi sari is woven using the Jamdani technique and is touted as an advanced hand weaving technique. This is a woven sari from Andhra Pradesh in a weaving cluster called Ponduru. This khadi Jamdani never dies out of fashion owing to the tropical climate of India, and it is very skin friendly. The intricacies of hand-woven paper designs in the Jamdani work add a distinctive elegance to the sari. Microbeads are small, solid, manufactured plastic particles that are less than 5 mm and do not degrade or dissolve in water. They may be added to a range of products including rinse-off cosmetics, personal care and cleaning products. Microbeads are used as ingredients in these products for a variety of purposes. This includes as an abrasive or exfoliant, a bulking agent for controlled timed release of active ingredients, and to prolong the shelf life, they are also a relatively cheap ingredient. Microbeads are not captured by most wastewater treatment systems. If they are washed down the drains after use, they can end up in rivers, lakes and oceans. Microbeads are most commonly used in personal care products and cleansers and exfoliants. Microbeads have also been added to some facial scrubs, body washes because of the scrubbing power they contribute. How can we know which products have microbeads? Next time you buy a product, look for the words like propylene and polyethylene of plastic microbeads. Construction and civil engineering activities have experienced a boom due to the rapid improvement in building material. However, the current scenario in the booming construction industry has posed many challenges due to some unsustainable aspects of highly polluting and exhaustive nature of building materials. Way back in 1990, the central government took the initiative to set up the Building Materials and Technology Promotion Council (BMTPC) to promote cost-effective, eco-friendly and energy-efficient building materials and technologies. Some of the natural materials that were considered by BMPTC as potentially viable building materials are 27 types of agro-industrial waste, byproducts, residues, natural fibers, plantation timbers, including rice and wheat husk, bagaces from sugarcane, coir, hemp, etc., that are cultivated on a large scale in Indian farms. In the last few years, green building construction has made significant inroads in India, and today it has emerged as one of the world's top destinations for green buildings. Broadly, there are two ways of harvesting rainwater, namely surface runoff harvesting and rooftop rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is the collection and storage of rainwater for reuse on-site rather than allowing it to run off. The stored water is used for various purposes such as gardening, irrigation, etc. Surface runoff harvesting in urban areas flows away as surface runoff. This runoff can be caught and used for recharging aquifers by adopting appropriate methods. Rooftop rainwater harvesting is a system of catching rainwater where it falls. In rooftop harvesting, the roof becomes the catchment and the rainwater is collected from the roof of the house or building. It can either be stored in a tank or diverted to an artificial recharge system. This method is less expensive and very useful, and if implemented correctly, helps in augmenting the groundwater levels of the area. A river is a ribbon-like body of water that flows downhill from the force of gravity. A river can be wide and deep or shallow enough for a person to wade across. A flowing body of water that is smaller than a river is called a stream, creek or brook. Some rivers flow year-round, while others flow only during certain seasons or when there has been a lot of rain. The largest rivers can be thousands of miles long. The erosional power of rivers can form geological wonders like the Grand Canyon too. The water that flows in the rivers is fresh, meaning that it contains less than 1% of salt. However, rivers still carry and distribute important salts and nutrients to support plant and animal life. For this reason, some of the most biodiverse habitats on the planet can be found around the rivers. The rivers of India play an important role in the lives of Indian people. 96% of Indian rivers are forest-fed rivers, meaning the rainwater collected during monsoons is held in the soil and the root systems of the forest trees. Drop by drop, it is let off, forming small rivulets. They become streams, streams become rivers. It must be understood that the source of water in the rivers are from the forests. Hence, having dense tree cover in the forests is crucial to revitalize the rivers. Rivers provide irrigation, potable water, transportation, electricity, and as well as providing livelihoods for a large number of people all over the country. This easily explains why nearly all the major cities of India are located by the banks of the rivers. Rivers also have an important role in Hindu mythology and are considered holy by all the Hindus in the country. Hydroponics is a method of growing plants in a soil-free base. Instead of soil, the roots are usually immersed in water. The water runs through a set system and a fixed quantity keeps cycling through the system. This way, the urban farmer need not water the plants regularly, thus, both efforts and water resource get saved in the process. Aquaponics combines hydroponics with aquaculture. In addition to growing plants in water, it also introduces fish in the system. You feed the fish and the fish waste in turn nourishes the plant. This way, you don't need to fertilize the plants individually. Aquaponics and hydroponics vary in finance, difficulty, materials and setup. The main differentiating factor is the fish or lack of fish. Simply put, the difference between hydroponics and aquaponics is that aquaponics uses fish to provide nutrients and the hydroponics uses formulated solutions. Electronic waste or e-waste describes discarded electrical or electronic devices such as computers, phones, televisions, stereos, copiers, fax machines. These are the common electronic products. Many of these products can be reused, refurbished or recycled. Used electronics, which are destined for refurbishment, reuse, resale, salvage recycling through material recovery or disposal are also considered e-waste. E-waste is extremely hazardous to human health and the environment. E-waste is usually buried or incinerated in landfills where it pollutes the land, water, air, triggering public health problems. The smoke from burning e-waste can cause respiratory ailments like asthma and sometimes even lung disease. The leaching of mercury, lead and cadmium, these are the heavy metals commonly used in electronic devices. They seep into the soil, water and can lead to kidney failure, bone damage, birth defects, cancer, mental illness, and death. As one of the largest producers of e-waste due to their heavy dependency on electronic devices, businesses must take the initiative to properly dispose of the e-waste. Proper disposal equates to less pollution, better resource conservation, and greater business continuity. As individuals, we must try and use our gadgets for as long as we can before we dispose them off. We have to also make sure any electronics that are of no use have to be recycled properly, as continuous buying of electronics without disposing them off properly under e-waste will put stress on our natural resources, for which most of the African forests are being cut and mined to procure the materials used to build these electronics. This is also uprooting indigenous tribes and communities that have been living in the forest for thousands of years, making them homeless and devastating their inhabitat and livelihoods. Many different kinds of paper can be recycled, including white office paper, newspaper, colored office paper, cardboard, white computer paper, magazines, catalogs, and phone books. Not recyclable are coated and treated paper, paper with food waste, juice, cereal boxes, paper cups, paper towels, and papers of the magazines laminated with plastic. It is quite easy to differentiate between recyclable and non-recyclable paper. Any paper that is coated in a material like wax or plastic or foil cannot be recycled. Usually, it's that paper aligned with other non-paper materials. The most important thing for recycling paper is that there is no contamination in the recycling bin. This means that bottles and cans need to be empty of all the liquids. Other food containers like yogurt tubs and pasta sauce jars should be rinsed and kept aside. Single-use plastics or disposable plastics are used only once before they are thrown away or recycled. These items are things like plastic bags, straws, coffee stirrers, soda and water bottles, and most food packaging. We produce roughly 300 million tons of plastic each year, and half of it is disposable plastic. Worldwide, only 10 to 13% of plastic items are recycled. Here are 5 things you can do starting today to end the plastic pollution. Refuse. Say no to plastic bags and use recyclable jute and cotton bags. Bottle your water. Plastic water bottles are the major portion of single-use plastic across the world. Avoid plastic cutlery when you're ordering out or during takeaways. Plan a litter collection day, clean up your surroundings. Make better choices at home. Once in a while, or on important occasions like Gandhi Jayanti, Independence Day, etc., we could involve children and people in the vicinity to clean up community. Community strength is the way to go. Parabens are synthetic chemicals that are used as preservatives in a variety of products, including cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and food. Parabens are also linked to ecological harm, as low levels of butyl parabens can kill coral according to the laboratory tests. Parabens have been detected in surface water, fish, and sediments. When parabens are combined with chlorinated tap water, a number of chlorinated paraben byproducts can form. Little is known about the toxicity of these products, which may be more persistent. When the parabens mix into the tap water, it is to be noted that we cannot easily purify or filter this kind of water. The water that contains parabens cannot be used for any other purposes as well. Of great concern is that parabens are known to disrupt hormone function, an effect that is linked to increase the risk of breast cancer and reproductive toxicity. Parabens are usually easy to identify by their name, such as methyl paraben, propyl paraben, butyl paraben, or ethyl paraben. Hope you all found this episode informative. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next week. Please do subscribe to my channel. Signing off, Shilpa Reddy.